All right, guys, welcome back to the ALGS channel. Hope you guys are all doing well and having a great day so far. A lot to dive into and discuss in today's video, from roster news, roster drama, roster updates, and we've got to talk about CEO member ImperialHal on TSM struggling right now. The team in general is struggling, but Hal taking it to Twitter, and the first time I think I've seen Hal in a long time, if not maybe the first time, not confident in himself anymore. This is not the side of Hal that we're used to seeing, but we'll take a look and see how they can bounce back and where their situation currently lies right now. So if you guys want to stay up to date with all things Apex Legends esports related, like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are finally back from the hospital, by the way. Just got back literally a couple of minutes ago. Baby J Miles is here, and now I am a father of two. Let's get it going. First off, wanted to mention Hambino, if you guys were not aware, did leave Team Penis to go over to Team Skirt to play with Lelli and Scurry, but sadly that roster did not last long, and they've now disbanded and gone their separate ways as well. Of course, Scurry still holds the Pro League spot, and he's been playing with other members, and it looks like Golden and Presley were there, and I'm pretty sure this roster might not even last either if it's not already broken up. But nonetheless, Hambino is going back to Team Penis, so obviously I would assume that it is broken up, because Team Penis includes Presley. And then you've got Lelli, right? Another core member of that Skirt team that sadly just decided he was going to step away from competitive Apex. And that was literally just about 2 weeks ago. Well, after this last match of Pro League ended, it looked like Lelli was going to be done, or at least for the foreseeable future, because that's what he said. But we thought that might be maybe 6 months or maybe a year. But a lot of you called it in the comments that it would not be long at all. And it looks like just after 1 week of being done, retired, whatever you want to call it, he has already found himself back playing with another team. So he was playing under the name by R5 Rots Brains, and this was in scrims, and he was actually playing with the Meat Lovers. And as you could tell, people were like, well, who's this person that Meat Lovers seem to be trialing? And you could actually see someone was in the scrims, clicked on his profile, and you can see that his additional names were Lelli. So we obviously knew who that was, and it was kind of weird because we were like, wait a second, is this a glitch? Is it a bug? Because I thought he was stepping away. Why would he leave a Pro League team to go play with a team that's probably going to get kicked out of Pro League if they don't qualify? And it looks like obviously Meat Lovers has been going through it, but maybe Lelli wants to go back and prove himself through the challenger circuit, whatever the case may be. Well, then you had Tech, the captain of the Meat Lovers, sign up in scrims with Tech, Awans, and Lelli. So it does look like it was him after all of this time. And basically he came out after the fact to give a little bit of an update. Say what you want, I don't really care anymore. A good opportunity popped up for me to stay on MNK with an IGL. I'm going to give this a shot. Not reading anything anyone has to say, because this past week my mentals have been a lot better. Support me or don't, I don't care. By the way, he also said this isn't an official return, it's just a trial, so chill out. So there's your roster update number one. Team Skirt with Lelli now going over to the Meat Lovers, it seems, for the time being. Also wanted to mention Evolution from Pro League, also another team not returning to Pro League after their unfortunate demise and not doing good enough to stay around. Evolution is going to be getting a roster update as well, with Urice stepping down. It looks like Urice will not be competing with this roster anymore, as Yaz came out to basically say he's looking for one with Voodoo, and just unfortunate stuff, because you really like to see Urice as the powerhouse name in the streaming community, someone who brings a lot of attention and viewership, and he's just not going to be there anymore. He's not going to be in Pro League either. I would assume he's not going to another team that's looking for one. So unfortunate stuff, to say the least. Now we've got to talk about what in the world is going on with TSM. So if you guys do not keep up with the scrim results, unfortunately you're missing out, because last night we got some more news as people are getting ready for finals. As you can see, this is not group A versus B or C versus whatever. This is the final scrims, so they are actually going through what it's going to be like for the regional finals, and that is coming up this week, by the way, for not only North America but the EMEA scene as well. There is one team missing out of here, unfortunately, but XSET has been struggling all this time, not even currently, I don't think, qualified right now for the LAN if they don't do good enough in this regional finals, and they win the scrim set. So this will be a really good set for them if they can do good enough, because XSET is banking on good performance in order to make LAN here. Now TSM is in that middle ground right now, right? They're like 7th, 8th or so. You have to get top 12 in order to go to LAN. TSM was in that top 3. They have since fallen since season 20 launched, and everybody's been calling it that they're not the normal TSM, right? Normally they're the first to adapt, they're the first to find the new meta, they're way ahead of the game. They are way behind the game this go around. And you even saw a couple of days ago, we talked about Hal struggling to say that he felt like maybe they're just not getting their footing together. Raven basically said he felt like it was individual mistakes and not the meta itself. Hal and them, obviously, they have all these discussions, and there were some times where they thought it was the meta. They need to change their play style or whatever the case may be. But basically, Raven just seems to narrow it down that it's individual mistakes, has nothing to do with not being able to catch on with the meta. But a lot of people watching obviously are going to make the assumption they were doing so good, and since season 20 came out, it started to decline. Maybe it's these other metas that they're not familiar with, and it might not just necessarily be the meta they're playing. Maybe it's getting used to the way other teams are playing with these new metas as well. But nonetheless, TSM does need to clinch their spot and have a good regional finals, at least not a really piss poor one, and it looks like 16th place is definitely not where you want to be. Sadly, they are just going back to back to back with no good results that TSM is used to getting. But this basically came out after the fact, Hal saying maybe it's me, and this is not the normal Hal that we see. You see, you know, we the people saying, get out of your head, bro. Remember who you are and what you do. You got to lock it in for regional finals this week. So let's take a look and see where these teams are actually standing right now in the overall standings going into LAN, because don't forget, we've only got one more match, and that's the regional finals. And currently, if you're in this top 12 right here on the left side from Dark Zero all the way to GKS, then you are basically qualified for LAN right now. But there's still another game to go, so these are not locked in, and all these other teams outside of this are not qualified for LAN. Exet, DIG, Optic Gaming, EC, Sentinels, all these other teams are on the outside looking in, but they do have another chance in regional finals if they can have a good enough game. Dark Zero is definitely locked. Moist Esports and Furia, Disguise, you're all top 4. LG, all of those guys look pretty solid. Even Complexity looks pretty solid, but TSM, on the other hand, is in 9th place. They are literally only about 10 points off from not making LAN. So this is why it's very important for them to have a good one. And if you have a set where XSET does good, like they did in the last night's scrim, and they get first, they will pass TSM, and TSM will come down again. If Optic Gaming has a good day, they might pass TSM, and TSM will come down. EC has had a good day where they won an entire Pro League match day. They could have a good game, and they could pass TSM. So it is not locked in yet. TSM has to step up. They have to do a good job, because they are completely opposite from where they were last year, right? Last year, they started off slow. People thought they weren't going to make LAN, and then they turned it up. This time, they started off strong, and since then, it has declined. Hopefully TSM. What really sucks, though, is just seeing Hal. You don't see Hal like this normally, right? He's always very confident in himself and who he is. Sadly, it looks like that confidence is starting to dwindle as their results follow suit as well. But hopefully TSM can get it together, and maybe we will not see any upsets or shocks anytime soon. Also wanted to mention the LAN announcement. A lot of drama still going on as Aurora and other teams from the EU, maybe even the Asian side of things, they're a little bit worried because this happened last year, and especially with Aurora. There were a team that qualified for LAN and didn't get to go because the visas were way too late, and it was because EA took so long to announce them, and they just simply didn't get them in time. Well, this was more arguments taking it to Reddit, saying we would love to see someone explain why LAN locations and dates have still yet to be announced. We thought we were going to get them a couple of days ago. We saw all these teasers and such, and we even were told by Respawn and EA themselves that we were going to get this information sooner this year than last year because of all the complaining that it happened. Well, it obviously didn't happen. I don't know if they lied or what's going on, but we're still not getting this early enough, because supposedly I've heard that LAN Split 1 was supposed to be early May, and if that's the case, we're less than 2 months away. These guys don't even have a visa yet, so why in the world are we looking at a schedule like this? And if it's not in early May, why are we taking 2 months off, 3 months off before we actually start LAN from the time Split 1 ended? So regardless, it's chalked. At this point, it's going to be chalked in one of two ways. Either there's way too long of a dead period where you wait so long and all this scrim gets like, you know, really monotonous, and we've just like waited so much time, or you go too soon and basically there's a lot of teams that might miss out because of the lack of visas. And if that happens again, I promise you, man, if Aurora misses back-to-back years of LANs because of this, it's going to be bad, and there's going to be a lot of people complaining about this as well. But basically, the longer fans have to plan for trips, the cheaper it is as well. Not to mention flying internationally. Regional finals for NA are next week, and we still have no clue where LAN is. Now, to my knowledge, EA has begun to start to pay for flights and hotels and such, I think, for the players themselves. I don't think they pay for coaches or analysts, but I think they do pay for the 3 players. That was the drama that we had faced 2 years ago, where there were teams that were basically forking out 10 grand or so and losing 10 grand just to go to champs that they qualified for. That should be a world life accomplishment, right? Like, you made it to champs, congratulations, go see what you can do. People are having to figure out if they can afford this, to put them in debt just to show up to LAN. Now, lastly, a little bit of a recap with the meat lovers and ImperialHal drama. This is obviously about a day or two old now. If you guys have not seen this, it was pretty dramatic. Tech took it to Twitter to say, ImperialHal, I have a lot of respect for you as a player, but this is not the first time you are spreading baseless rumors to thousands of people just because you do not like me. This does not give you the right to spread these completely wild allegations. I have offered to hop in a voice chat with you to basically explain all of this stuff. But, you know, it seems like Hal was under the impression with Lux in his chat that Lux was saying that Tech kind of screwed him over with the whole meat lovers and going to native situation. Tech was one to say that these were not true and that there was definitely some disagreements here. Then Madness came to say, well, I'm not a big Tech fan. How openly and confidently lying about you is cringe and genuinely so lame. Bro has the biggest platform in Apex, and spewing lies like this ruins careers. This is not cool at all. Then the COO for Native Gaming, which obviously has something to say about this as well, because he was the, you know, he's the team organization that's actually getting Lux to come to them. He says this is actually true. And Madness, by the way, you're the most cringe person to ever disgrace the ALGS scene. Go back to your corner. And he says, to clarify, I'm not speaking to Tech's intent regarding why he did not immediately remove Lux when it was clear they were no longer going to team. What is apparent is that communication could have been better from both sides. I think it's easy for us to cast judgment on someone's intent without knowing the full scope of what's going on in their day-to-day lives. The perception is that Tech was holding him hostage, but perception does not always equal intent. I don't know Tech, so I cannot speak to his intent, whether he did or intentionally not. Only Tech knows, and that's okay. What's done is done. Onward and upward, always with room for a little grace. So interesting stuff. Nasky came out to say that basically Lux was brain dead and lying about all of this. He said that Tech did not do all of this. It's all good. But now Lux basically just ran scenarios in his head and then basically believed. It's called confirmation bias, when you think you know what's going on. So instead of getting evidence, you just tell yourself that that's the fact and you live by it. So Hal gets this false info and believes that Tech is a gatekeeper. And now Hal doubles down instead of admitting Lux is brain dead. So this was Nasky's point of view. And of course, all this drama continued to spread on. Zera also saying that, you know, Tech doing that makes no sense. So he does not really sure why Hal said that. And then Hal goes on to say, well, he heard it straight from Lux, and that's what Lux was saying. So interesting to see what you guys have to say about all the topics down in the comment section below. Hey, if you guys want to stay up to date with all things in the ALGS scene, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And until the next time, we'll see you all later, Gators. Who stayed to the end? Are you ready?